because a lot of you don't even realize you sound probably a lot alike with the call. And the goal for this is to make you aware of what not to do and what to do. But the first thing I want to say about the phone calls, if you're going to take notes, pull out a pen. This is important. This is just the basic principles that I always follow. I make sure that I have good cell phone or good service. You do not need to be getting on a call if you don't have good service. If the client's having trouble hearing you, he's going to lose interest. If you're going to try to sell someone for $5,000, you need to at least respect their time, and you need to be in a good area. So that's the first thing I want you guys to realize. Next thing, what I personally do before I start getting on calls, because I got a lot of calls some days, is that I talk with people. I call somebody. I get my blood and my energy flowing. I don't just start calling out clients the second I wake up. I make sure that I've talked to someone for at least 5 to 15 minutes. So the person I'm trying to sell on the phone isn't my daily practice, isn't the first person I speak to. I noticed this really helps me get my energy going, because I realized when I would wake up, immediately talk to a client, I'd be half brain dead. And that is not the position you want to be in when you're trying to close. So make sure that you got some water and your voice isn't cracking and your service isn't bad, and that this person isn't the first person you talk to. The next thing I always say is smile. Smile. Be happy to be there. You can tell when somebody is smiling and somebody's pissed off and bored and doesn't want to talk to you. Make sure your energy levels are consistent, right? Not only you got to smile, but make sure that you are consistent. Your energy levels aren't, yeah, I'm having a great day, Bob. Yeah, you want to have a flow to it. You want to have a streamlined process that is just natural, that isn't changing every 30 seconds, like you're on steroids or you're bipolar or you're at the gym every 5 minutes. You want to sound like, just a good, confident person with the great energy. So me personally, I like to walk around. The reason for this is because I'm always up. I'm not sitting there slouched. I realize when I'm just sitting here, it's a little bit harder for me to come up with good topics or, good energy to close. So I walk around. Also, it keeps me focused on the call. When I'm just sitting at my desk or I'm sitting at my office, I notice whenever I'm just sitting there, I kind of forget the conversation. Like even when some of you guys might call me, my brain kind of zones off. But when I'm focused in from walking, I can stay in and keep that conversation going in the right direction. So let's just recap that before we move forward. Make sure you are in a quiet, great place with good cell phone service. Make sure you bring the appropriate amount of energy to that call. You're smiling. You're happy to be there. But this brings me to my next point. And it's very important because a lot of us fuck up on this. And pardon my French. My mom told me to stop cussing today. She's like, I'm disappointed in your Facebook wall. And, I felt bad because, I'm not trying to have my mom pissed. So I'm going to get better with that. But brings me to my next point is to have a goal for every call you get on. So if you're trying to sell somebody on the call, make sure that you have a destination you're trying to reach. A lot of us just get on calls and just freestyle it. We'll see what happens. That is the worst thing you can do, is just hop on random calls with random customers or random people that want to talk to you. If you don't have a goal for every call you take, you're wasting time. And let me give you an example. Yesterday, I went over to Mike Petrides' house, and he was just on a call for like an hour with someone. And he was supposed to be a coaching student for the DJ business or the DJ coaching he's doing. And they got off topic. The guy started saying, I have this connection, this and this and this. And it went from Mike getting paid to Mike maybe having a referral partner down the road. And I'm going to be transparent with you guys. The get rich partnerships with strangers that you have this great conversation where you go in a million directions, 99% of the time, those never equate to shit. So Mike lost $3,000 because he went in there without real direction or a goal. And he was like, dude, he's going to introduce me to this, this, and this, and this. And I'm like, bro, Mike, look at the last 6 months of your life. You know how many times you've come to me with the same story? And this isn't a bad mouth Mike. I'm just saying, I said, Mike, take the money, then team up later. Don't have 5 different things. You got the shiny object syndrome when you're on that call. Now you're going to pay for it. I'll give you another example so it makes a little bit more sense. So this week, luckily I closed him today. He was ready to go. The guy was ready to sign up, pay me $5,000 up front. no issues. Well, we accidentally got off track. We started talking about what I could do for his business and get him leads and this and this. So by the end of the phone call, he's more trying to team up than me getting paid. And I already spent an hour on the call, which isn't bad. But I'm like, damn, like, I wonder how many times on other calls where I've gotten on a call with someone who's about to pay me and we got off track and it never paid me. So make sure that you stay on track. Make sure you stay on your destination goal, and that's to get paid or send a proposal. Don't go off and start talking for an hour and be friend, because then he'll forget everything you even said about you closing them, and he'll be thinking about what you ended the conversation with. So that's a huge important factor I hear in a lot of the calls I'm played, is that you kind of ran off on a tangent that has nothing to do with the actual process. And so when you have a goal, it should be to bring in clarity on the services you're offering to this potential customer. There doesn't need to be a bunch of chit chat. There doesn't need to be a bunch of irrelevant questions. If it doesn't have 100% to do with what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to get them, it doesn't need to be brought into the conversation. And a lot of us, I remember SoHealth, for instance, when he first signed up, he was listening to a lot of Grant Cardone, I think. I don't know if that was you, but you were trying to ask these like assertive questions, kind of like
Jordan Belfort.
Okay, Jordan Belfort. And you're just asking these questions like, I don't think it was you who said this, but are you the decision maker? Or someone who was saying something like that. And I was like, dude, it doesn't matter. You're on the phone call. You need to give him a clear picture of what you're offering and make sure by the time you're done speaking, he has a clear understanding of what you're selling. And, a lot of the time, if you're just going off and you're asking stupid questions, he's not going to know what it is you do. And make sure you practice. Write down, that's why I tell you guys to record your calls, is so every call, I don't care if you're the best salesman ever, record your call, because you need to realize the questions people ask before they ask them. You need to have a clear answer, right? So for you guys, and I'm going to use coaching because I do this every day now. The marketing stuff is easy, but I want to give you some examples of what I'm talking about. Every time I get on a call, I get the same questions from people interested in my coaching. So as a copywriter, as a marketer, my job is to answer those questions precisely in the best way I possibly can. So over time, I answer them better and better. That's what you have to become at the questions that you're being asked by your clients. Let me give you an example by that. So back in the day, someone would say, okay, Gallant, if I sign up to your program, what are the niches we go after? I would just say, well, high ticket niches, here's a couple examples, right? Over time, it went from that to I supply you with a list of 151 pre-selected niches with email scripts and call scripts. So you don't have to do any of the research or waste your time on finding a niche. See how it got better? So over time, I have taken all the normal questions that I'm asked and I have an answer that I constantly improve on. So the call gets easier and easier for me to close. If you're not prepared for the call and you haven't previously answered any of the questions, you're not going to make it that far, because people can hear when you're winging shit. People can hear when you're just pulling stuff out of thin air just to give them an answer. But when you talk with clarity, like you've answered this question a million times and you have a solution for everything he asks, he's going to cut you a check. Selling isn't about who's a closer. There's no selling in my blood. Selling is about the exchange of energies between someone else. And I'm selling them something that they want or need. And I'm building an irresistible offer on that call. So that's one of the first things you want to do when you start practicing and you're not closing, is record your calls and write down some of the topics that are coming up and how you can get better at answering those questions. The next thing you need to do is you don't need to be desperate, right? You kind of want them to ask you, hey, so can you send me a proposal, right? Like I'll be real. I'm in a position now to where if they don't ask for a proposal, I'll say, let me know if you need anything and we'll go from there. Because if they're not even interested in asking for a proposal, I doubt they're going to pay you. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's all in the follow-up. It's on the listen, when you close people that don't really want your business, it's not going to be a good thing. Every single person I forced into a sell, I regretted later because they were not the person I wanted to work with. They were the pain in the ass. They were the ones that weren't looking for the leads. They were the ones that weren't actually trying, right? And that happens a lot of the time, especially whenever there's multiple partners and you close one of the partners and he's all gung-ho and the other partner doesn't give a shit. So, you want to make sure the people you do business with want your business as much as you want them. Or I swear they're just going to ask for the refund. I think Seth, he might have just joined the call, but he can agree that because we close some guy and he's the happiest, easiest, greatest guy to work with, but his two partners are fucking the devil. Like, they don't want to call the leads. They want to complain. They're not trying. And, and you could tell that they never wanted to work with us. Even though someone was wanting to pay me, if I would have known that someone on the team wasn't gung-ho for me, I probably wouldn't have taken it on. Because it's very hard, guys, remember, to get a bad taste out of someone's mouth.